Hey guys, welcome back. So now jumping right back into Marauders, to where at this point we get a deeper look into one of Bishop's investigations, which seemed pretty obscure at first, but as it turns out it leads into a whole nother problem itself. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get the spills every week, and don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so jumping right back in, and at this point picking up in Brazil, to where at this time you have the Marauders split up, with Storm, Iceman, and Pyro coming here to safely extract some mutant children and bring them over to Krakoa, and with doing so running into a bit of resistance, which is kind of expected because that's kind of half the reason why the Marauders do what they do. Because with both of their biggest tasks, which are moving pharmaceuticals and moving mutants, these guys are on the front lines of going places and making this work, in places where it's not really allowed to work, which in this case puts them in direct opposition with the Brazilian Navy. And at this point arriving here, they've been making trips to Island M, which were being tracked by the CIA and also the American Navy. But on Island M, this is where Kate, Pryde, and Bishop, they split up to handle a lead on Bishop's investigation, while Storm and the others came here. But even with the American Navy attempting to follow them and their ships moving at about 35 knots, they had no chance keeping up with the Marauders heading here to Brazil, with their ship going at 300 knots, which is about 8 times as fast. And I can just imagine US intelligence like, could you identify anybody within the ship? And the Navy just responding like, sir, you won't believe who was driving. But either way, here in Brazil, where at this point Storm, Pyro, and Iceman are dealing with the Brazilian Navy, it's here where the Marauders step in and give these children a way out, and when the Navy gives them resistance, like Storm hits this dude with the Thanos line, like, I don't even know who you are. But in this case, rather than her being on the receiving end of the worst, she was the one dishing it out, and she straight up just struck him with lightning. But with doing so, still following the kill no man rule, because wasn't no place in the rule book that didn't say how close you couldn't get them. But with doing so, they safely got these children out of here and on their way to Krakoa. And along the way, Iceman tells this kid named Fish that with walking through the door, he'll hear a voice in his head and he'll automatically understand the Krakoan language, which is one of those things I want you guys to keep in mind in the case of Kitty Pryde, who at this point has never walked through a Krakoan door, and for that reason she doesn't fully understand the Krakoan language. So whenever she's out with another Marauder, there's always like that Kratos moment where she just like, read it boy, because she's like the only mutant who doesn't have it downloaded into her mental Rolodex. But at this point in time with her and Bishop in Taipei, it's here where they're following up on Bishop's previous investigation of the missing billionaire Lim Zhao, who prior to this point didn't want the mutants' help in finding her husband, but with his disappearance being in association with the Krakoan doors, which is what his wife had told authorities and announced to the world. But for that reason, Krakoa couldn't just let this slide, and it's why Bishop still has his case. But at this point, with following leads which have them investigate within Zhao's home, Kitty Pryde comes along for a couple of reasons. One, because she's super helpful with stealth, because imagine walking through walls in a stealth game. Like, that would be beyond helpful. But also while here, you have Kitty who's trying to persuade Bishop to join with her in the Hellfire Trading Company and become the Red Bishop, which for Bishop is a little too much, being named Bishop and also being a bishop. And in his mind, he's probably just thinking of people running up to him and be like, excuse me, Bishop, what was that you said, Bishop? I need to talk to Bishop, the Red Bishop. Bishop. Like, it would probably just be too much. Like, imagine walking in the Krakoan club, the Green Lagoon, and as soon as you walk in, the DJ's like, look who stepped in, Bishop. So for a number of reasons, Bishop, he just has all kind of excuses why he doesn't want to be the Red Bishop. But back to the extraction, to where at this point they have 90 seconds completely, and I mean right now like 80 seconds left. But with them going to a spot within the home where his wife said that he had touched the Krakoan gate and disappeared, which is a weird alibi, but Kitty admits that the gates aren't perfect, so there is a small probability within Mrs. Zhao's statement. But with doing this, they then find a room in the middle of a room. And when seeing this, of course, they then go to investigate what is inside this room within the room. And when they go inside, there is none other than Lin Zhao, who they've pretty much found as a prisoner within his own home. And when he sees them, he immediately recognizes the two of them as Shadowcat and Bishop. And mainly because he's recently become a believer like the Order of X, who once again, if you guys remember, these are the humans who worship the mutants ever since the announcement of Charles Xavier, which played out inside everyone's heads, both human and mutant, which since then has pretty much sparked this cult following, like literally. And this is something that Kitty's not too much aware of, so Bishop tells Zhao, me and Kitty gotta speak in private, and Zhao actually covers his ears and starts singing. It's crazy. But it's here where Bishop catches up Kate on who the Order of X are, because she's been on the move a lot lately, so it's understandable that she doesn't know. But while he's giving her the update, Zhao security makes their way in, to where at this point we see the extra security who has been working inside the home, but in their case they're hired by Zhao's wife, so they only take orders from her and not from him. And with doing so, it makes it pretty obvious that his wife has been trying to keep him here, and with doing so hiring this help from these Lady Deathstrike like security, to where I imagine that's like their name in the ad. But when the two of them show up here and they attack Bishop and Kate, it really exposes the motive of Zhao's wife. But when this happens, and Kitty Pryde defends herself with a pillow by phasing the pillow through the woman's arm and like half of her face. And I feel like there's a bit of torso there too. But with doing this, I feel like, man, like now we need to put Kate Pryde in the next MK11 DLC, because throughout Marauders she's just been making these crazy moves and really just reminding you like how dangerous she actually is. But after this, we're taking Zhao and bringing him to his wife, who was at the Taipei arena, and giving another one of those speeches about how the mutants are causing more harm than help. But in the middle of this speech, Kate and Bishop, they pop up with her husband and they expose her in front of everyone. And it's funny how they did it, because right when she was making herself look like the victim, and she was just like, oh, where's my husband? And Kate was like, he right here, which was double embarrassing for Chen Zhao, with not only lying about what happened with her husband, but also having it exposed to the world that he's a member of the Order of X, or at least one of the humans that share their beliefs. But not long after this, Lin Zhao's wife, Chen Zhao, she made her way over to Madripoor in response to a note that she was given from a private group that focuses their efforts towards mutant oppressors. And with coming to Madripoor to respond to this note, she also brings a very generous check, because not only does she want to get involved, but she wants to join this group, who we then discover is a group called Homines Verendi, who on the surface seem like a bunch of little kids just playing dress up. But beyond that, there is a lot of money at this table, because from left to right, between Maximilian Frankenstein, Cade Kilgore, Manuel Duke, and Wilhelmina Kensington, who all had came together years ago and formed their own version of the Inner Circle, they're essentially a group of genius billionaires who are not so much philanthropists, with like Cade Kilgore, for example, who murdered his father, blackmailed the heads of his company, and became the Black King of the actual Hellfire Club, all at the age of 12. But all of these kids have means to billions, which makes Chen Zhao's millions pale in comparison. And with their new organization, Homines Verendi, they've sought out to take action against mutant oppressors, which I say with air quotes because to them this is the whole nation of Krakoa. And to do so, they solicit the help of other villains who line up with their cause, who we'll talk about soon. But here in this moment, they accept Chen Zhao's offer to join their organization by making her their White Bishop. And man, I gotta say, like, if the X-Men had a new theme in 2020, it'd be like, I got enemies, got a lot of enemies, got a lot of people trying to drain me of this energy. Because everywhere you turn, another one, and many of which have crossed paths with the X-Men before. But so now real quick, just want to give a shout out to all the Patreons. Thank you guys for all of your support, and for anyone who's new here and wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link down below to where you can go to patreon.com/DopeSpill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again in the next one. Alright, later.